I also want to raise the role of the international investment funds and the role they're playing in displacing individuals and families from purchasing a home. The example occurred in Maynooth last week in Mullen Park, a housing estate that is well under construction at this stage. I started getting calls and emails late last week from constituents on this. Each one of them had signed up with an estate agent expressing an interest in purchasing the home. They would have been watching the development as it was progressing. They would have been looking forward to the day that they would be contacted and asked to put a deposit on the house. Those hopes were dashed last week when the auctioneer sent them an email to say that Roundhill Properties was going to be, or Roundhill Capital was going to be buying the rest of the estate. The developer had no shortage of buyers. Individuals wished to purchase, as did Kildare County Council, as did Tua Housing Association, but they were all dumped in favour of Roundhill Capital. The same company also purchased 112 family homes in Bay Meadows in Hollystown and 297 apartments in North Dublin. And now they'll come on the market at extortionate rents. Roundhill Capital say they have €1 billion to spend on residential property in Ireland, and they're just one of the dozens of investors competing with this limited supply of housing. Since 2018, nearly €4 billion has been invested by global funds in the Irish residential market. In 2019, international funds bought a staggering 95% of the apartments that were constructed in that year. How are ordinary buyers who scrimp and save for a mortgage supposed to compete with this? Taoiseach, there is no mystery as to why these funds are here outbidding ordinary buyers, because they are being advantaged by the state in terms of they pay no stamp duty, as has been said, no capital gains tax, no corporation tax. I listened to the Housing Minister yesterday and he talked about not doing anything radical. He was concerned about unintended consequences, but it begs the question, is what happened in Maynooth an unintended consequence? And it's not just Maynooth, there's another estate in Maynooth that went the same way a number of months ago. This begs the question, there's a skewed ideology at play here, Taoiseach, and you must tell us, when there is going to be a change on this. It can't be something that's put off to the budget. Every one of us will sit here for a weekend if we need to pass legislation, overnight if we have to pass legislation to stop this. And the other aspect of it is, it's not just that they're buying these estates, but you will find that the state will be on the other side with long leases, where they will, over 25 years, where they'll be leased and then refurbished and returned to the developer at the end of it. So you need to tell us when this will change. There's an urgency about this now,
Thank you, Deputy.
And we're getting to a point of no return. So we need a time frame on this.
First of all, I appreciate the Deputy's genuine points that you've articulated here. And I want to make it very clear. No county council should be on the other side of this. Let that go out loud and clear now from government. No county council should be on the other side of this, engaging in a long lease with these institutional investors of that estate. As far as I'm concerned, leasing had some short-term, a limited degree of leasing had its some degree of importance, but leasing overall, long-term, doesn't represent great value for money. Be straight up with you. That is why we're building 9,500 social houses this year, out of 12,750 social housing overall. That is why we want to build 50,000 social houses, direct build, over the next 5 years. That is the overall commitment of the government. That's where the main focus of government construction is going to be here over the next while. And in respect of that swoop in by that institutional investor, we're going to deal with that. That is not acceptable. It is not acceptable. Originally, in previous governments, facilitated the arrival in of investment with good intentions in terms of getting some investment into the high-density rental market, particularly in Dublin, when capital was scarce in the country. It was never intended that would facilitate competing with first-time buyers in a suburban housing estate. That was never the intention, and that will be dealt with by government. in respect of making sure that is disincentivised and is not facilitated. And obviously the Minister of Finance will be meeting with his team this afternoon in relation to this, and also will be engaging with colleagues across government in relation to this particular development. Because what government wants to do is give people a chance to afford, to be in a position to afford to buy their own homes through a number of schemes. And then we want to make sure that we build the largest social housing programme in the history of the state to make sure that people who can't afford to get houses get houses at affordable rents as well for them. And then the cost rental scheme is another mechanism that will be an added plus to enable people to get access to homes. And when you consider that last year we're barely over 20,000 houses just provided in the entire country. About 8,000 of those were social. So we don't actually have a thriving private market in this economy at all. Like Sinn Féin keep going on about it and keep on inventing the same old slogans and the same rhetoric, but it's empty rhetoric at this stage because the bulk of housing construction at the moment has been driven by the state in a variety of shapes and forms. And that will continue to be the case for quite some time to come yet. But the key point is this. I accept the basic principle of what you're saying, that what happened in Maynooth is not acceptable. And it's not something that we want to see happening in this country. We want those housing estates reserved for people who wish to buy houses and afford to buy, who can afford to buy their houses, or indeed for the approved social housing bodies also.
Thank you very much. Deputy Murphy.
Taoiseach, you didn't tell us when that's going to be addressed. That's really important we hear that today. I don't know if I'm living in a different planet, a different country, but all I'm seeing where I represent is turnkey developments that are being purchased by or long leased by the local authority. I don't see any bills. I don't see any bills. I don't see where all of this social housing is coming from. I can give you the names of the estate that are long leased. I live 100 yards away from where an estate is under construction, where there's 61 Part 5 houses going to be long leased for 25 years. My colleague Cian O'Callaghan is bringing a bill tomorrow night on PMB on our private members' time to actually deal with this. I only live 100 yards away from that. Everybody expected the 61 would be local authority houses within that development. No issue. Expected, being peppered around a nice estate. But they did expect the state to buy them. They did expect there to be an asset at the end of it. They did not expect to see a long lease for 25 years where it's refurbished at the end.
Thank you, Deputy. Please, the time is up.
Where it's handed back to the developer. Like, this is madness.
Thank you very much. Time is up. Taoiseach,
you need to tell us when this is going to change.
Thank you, Taoiseach.
As you know, the government is not opposing your bill tomorrow. The government works with your party in respect of that legislation that you're bringing forward tomorrow in respect of the leasing issue. The leasing issue isn't the dominant form of house provision. And as I mentioned earlier, in terms of institutional investment, just to give a sense of perspective, I think 5% of all rental tenancies is owned by institutional investment at the moment, and 1% of the existing housing stock. So there has to be balance in this to some degree. And in terms of affordability, as has been referenced, I mean, Fingal County Council announced last February its first affordable housing scheme in 11 years. And it'll build, the Dunedin scheme, 51 homes, of which 39 will be affordable, 12 will be social. And again, a mix of two-bedroom apartments at 166,000, not 450. Three-bedroom duplexes at 206,000, three-bedroom terrace from 250,000, and three-bedroom semi-detached from 258. So a range of affordable schemes will emerge from the initiatives that the Minister has taken in respect of this. And in respect of Part 5s, the preference from the Department is not that leasing would be the dominant form of that. No, that is the policy position. And we do not want to see in any shape or form an overuse of the level 5 mechanism via the leasing option.
Thank you very much. We move now to